Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. Reed should be joining us at some point during this interview, but thank you for tuning into the Burgundy Zone to this episode of Rollin Cole. And the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And speaking of Rollin Cole, we are joined by my pre-draft favorite, the current tight end of the Washington Commanders, Mr. Cole Turner. How are you doing this beautiful Thursday evening, brother?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, sir. First question I have to get to is you coming into the league, Cole. Obviously, you played basketball in high school. You played football. You won state championships for your high school there. You came into college as a wide receiver, converted your sophomore year to a tight end, immediately made some waves being a tight end there. What was the biggest obstacle for you coming from college into the pros? Like for a young player coming into the league, what was one of the more harder transitions?
To be honest with you, the first thing that was a lot different than what I was used to was the playbook, because I played in sort of an air raid style of offense where it wasn't as much. It's a lot less freedom in the NFL per se. Like they want things a certain way, and the coaches want it that way, and there's just a lot more depth to the playbook. So for OTAs, luckily I had a lot of guys around me like Logan Thomas and John Bates who really went out of their way to help me out and learn the whole thing, and then along with the physicality of the players that you're playing with every single down. It takes a lot to get your body ready every single week just because of how big and explosive the other players are. You're not just the biggest, fastest guy. So it took me some time to learn that, and I feel like once I did, it just kept making me a better player.
Sure. Right, definitely. And so, like, coming in as a rookie, like you said, obviously you got to, like, adjust to certain things and the speed of the game, the size of the guys that you're going up against. What are some things that you kind of adjusted to going into, like, as your second season in the NFL, going into your third season? What are some of the things that you have adjusted to, and maybe some of the things that you're still kind of trying to get a grasp on, per se?
I would say that I've adjusted to a lot. I've really taken to become a student of the game, trying to learn more offense and defense, talking to the defensive coaches about why they run a certain coverage versus 3x1 versus 2x2 versus the DNs, how they see a near back versus far back away, or how they adjust on motions, just all those different kind of things. The things that I've really came into my second year and tried to focus on and learned a lot about. And I feel like some things I can still work on. I think every single day there's things that people want to work on to get better, no matter what stage you're at, all pro versus rookie. And I think what I want to keep getting better on is I want to be a more physical player at the point of attack, because I feel like that's the only thing that's really been holding me back a little bit recently. So just trying to do my best to keep becoming a better player every day.
You definitely are capable of doing it. I've seen it on film, Cole. Your progression in blocking in one season was really alarming to me when I saw it, and I give you a lot of credit for that. But, you being in the fifth round, you have a twin fifth-round draft pick there with Mr. Sam Howell, who this year you got started off really early, started out well in that first game that we saw in person. Got to see that great grab by you in 11 games, 11 receptions, 120 yards this year. Kind of talk about the relationship with Sam Howell and the growth that you guys have kind of had together.
Yeah, like you said, me and Sam, we came in together, and we were actually with the same agency. So I went through all pre-draft training with Sam. So we kind of built a trust into each other. And, luckily Sam's the type of guy where he's going to throw to you if you're open. He's not looking to get any certain player involved. He just reads the defense and throws to the best option that he has. And I feel like we did a good job of building kind of chemistry during training camp, and it kind of carried into the games that we played together.
Right. So obviously you're a tight end, and you mentioned Logan Thomas earlier, and obviously he's a veteran in this league. And obviously he went to VTech. We all know his background because we're in the DMV. He was a quarterback in college, then transitioned over to a tight end. And he talked about how Ron Rivera gave him a shot in this league, basically to be a starter. And he really had a burst out year coming in his first year, and kind of got nicked up by injuries the last couple of years. But what are some of the things that he told you as a vet and kind of just brought you along the way as kind of under his wing as since you've been to the league?
Yeah, Logan, like you said, he's had a pretty incredible career when you really think about playing his first couple of years at quarterback, and then being able to switch into tight end, and not only just switching positions, but being a really, really great starting level, more than a starter, almost Pro Bowl level player at another position, just kind of shows the work ethic that Logan has and what he's been able to do with himself as far as just switching his mind from quarterback to tight end. And as far as things like that, is he does a really good job of explaining the way quarterbacks read things out to the whole room, and he's a great leader, and he does a good job of showing you where the quarterback might see you versus a certain coverage or a certain look, or how he's looking to shave down a route at the top of a basic, just kind of little things that you might not have thought about, but someone who played the quarterback position for 3 years in the NFL would know.
My man. And now my next question to you, were two things I want to ask you about. The Senior Bowl, that obviously you went and attributed to, you participated in before you got drafted, but also I believe you went to Travis Kelce's camp over the summer last year. Were those two things helpful for you?
Yeah, I mean, the Senior Bowl was the first time I got to be in a true pro style offense, and kind of get around a bunch of guys that I knew I was going to be playing against at the next level. So it was a really good measuring stick for me to kind of see where I was at and what I needed to work on for the first time with guys with the future offense that I would be running, and against the players that I would be playing against in the future on Sundays. So it was a really good experience for me as far as being able to go through that whole process and kind of learning from the guys around me, learning from the coaches, them kind of telling me, give me a little feedback on things that I want to work on coming into the NFL. And same thing with tight end U, like you said, Travis and George, they do a great job of getting all the guys around each other and just kind of learning from each other and getting out on the field just for a couple of days to kind of talk through some things that, you don't always get the chance to hear from, the best guy in the league at your position group. And
Right.
also Hall of Famers like Rob Gronkowski came back and talked to us, and Jordan Reed had a segment where all these guys kind of have different specialties that they're known for, that they're willing to share this type of knowledge with you. So I just try to do my best to be a sponge and learn from all those guys. And I think another great thing is everyone's journey is different. And you kind of learn that from being around those guys. Is no one really had a straight shot to becoming a Pro Bowl player or a Hall of Fame guy. So it was good to learn from those dudes.
Yeah, Jordan Reed, you brought up that name. We obviously love Jordan Reed here in Washington, and you have similar background to Jordan. Have you been able to study Jordan at all?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they talk about Jordan like he's a legend because of what he's done here, and he really is. And he's a special player with very special, unique skills. And one of the things that he talked to me about and the rest of us at tight end U was just having three basic moves at the line of scrimmage and getting really great at those three. Versus, you see a lot of guys, they have all these different things that they try to put on tape. Versus just getting really good at what you're good at, and it's something I tried to take from him.
Right. So obviously, like the season didn't go as obviously you guys wanted or the fans wanted, and it resulted in Ron getting let go by the new ownership. Like everyone know how that goes. Like new owners want to come in, get their own people. But how was it just playing under Ron, getting to know Ron, and him being in the locker room? And what are some things that you kind of like learned from him that you're going to take along the way through the rest of your career?
Yeah, Coach Rivera, he's been in the league for 30 years and spent 10 as a player. So that just kind of shows you the kind of knowledge and all the experience he's gone through and all the different situations you've seen. So I learned from him a lot as far as leadership and kind of how to become a good player and be somebody who can stick around and be a part of a winning team. Even though things didn't go the way we wanted this year, I still learned a lot from him. And, I'm thankful for him for giving me an opportunity, especially being from a smaller school and seeing something in me. And, so I thought he was a good coach, and he did everything he could for us.
My man, Cole. I don't want to bring this on a sore subject or anything, but you finished a year not dressing, and I wish I would have been able to see more of you because I really was intrigued by your progress as a tight end. Was that a difficult process for you? Did you have somebody you could lean on to kind of help? How was that process for you at the end of the year? Because obviously you want to help your team.
Yeah, of course. And, I want to play every single game. I want to play every down, and, so does everyone else.
Right.
And, sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. And sometimes it's just a numbers thing and you're an apple and they need an orange. So, no one told me they'd lost any confidence in me, and they knew what they saw in me as a player. And so that really helped me lean on it because I just talked to my tight ends coach about it, and they gave me, good insight, and it was a good conversation, and it's something that I'll take with me as I go into the rest of my career.
Good job, Cole.
Yeah, now that the season's over, do you kind of just like take a couple weeks, maybe a couple days, and kind of just relax, and then kind of get back to the grind, or you got some like vacations coming up, or what do you got going on this off season, and when are you going to start getting back to kind of getting ready for the upcoming season in 2024?
Yeah, definitely take this past couple days off. It's been a long time since it feels weird not waking up and going into the facility or doing something 'cause during the season. It's nearly a 24/7 job. So, and then it just abruptly stops, and it's kind of a bit of a shock. So, just taking these couple days to kind of rest and recover, and spend some time with some friends. And first couple weeks, I like to take away just to kind of reset mentally.
Right.
So I'm headed out to Cancun with my girlfriend for her birthday.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so I'm going to spend some time doing that, and then once I get back, then I'll start getting back into it. So around February, well, Super Bowl starts up. It's usually the time I start back up again.
My man, I'm glad to hear that. My wife and I went to our honeymoon was in Cancun and Playa del Carmen. I absolutely love it down there. Enjoy it, Cole. I'm sure your girlfriend will as well. To wrap this up, brother, I only have a couple more questions for you. But headlines were being made with exit interviews, and there's been thoughts around this team going into the early part of the season about Coach Eric Bieniemy. And Logan Thomas was very candid, honest about his kind of relationship with EB. Saying sometimes we butt heads a little bit. I want to ask you, just on a simple level, like how was it playing under Coach Eric Bieniemy?
Yeah, I enjoyed EB because he's very truthful and honest, and that's the kind of coach a player can respect and be around. It wasn't we knew what he expected, and um, we tried to do our best to conform to that. And everyone, I don't want to speak on anyone else's experience because we're all our own. And for me personally, I enjoyed playing for Coach EB. I learned a lot, so much from him, especially he's coming from been around, like we said, the best tight end of my generation at least. So I learned a lot from him, and me and him are still in a really good place. And he's someone I would love to continue playing for or play for in the future. I know things didn't go exactly how he wanted it, or I wanted, or we did as a team, but I know his heart's in the right place. And it's hard to turn things over in just a single year, especially EB he had the keys to everything. So
Yeah.
it's hard to just judge somebody off just one season, especially when personnel things are still working out the way he wants. So I personally liked him, and we never had an issue. We were always honest and direct with each other, and some guys might have, but that's part of that happens in every locker room. It's not always going to be perfect. It's the NFL
Right.
where things are intense and everyone's good, so it's a hard league to win in, and he knows that, and we all do, and we're going to keep doing everything in our power to get it turned around.
My man, Cole, that fantastic answer, brother. Next one for you. Obviously you played basketball in high school. I just want to kind of get a background on you. What position did you play? One that you loved to play, and what any players that you loved growing up that you idolized in basketball or football, and or favorite team basketball?
Yeah, definitely my favorite player growing up was Kobe Bryant in basketball. I was definitely part of the Kobe era, and I guess I played kind of the small forward role, but I was a guy that I like to get the rebound and bring the ball up the court. I wanted the ball in my Oh, I like to think I could do a little bit of everything, and I miss playing basketball, man. It's a really fun sport. I was just talking to my buddies about the high school days, not too long ago, where you go right from football season directly into basketball season,
Yes,
and
sir.
still playing for the same school, so that I love playing basketball. I miss playing it.
We all do. I mean, I almost view it as therapeutic, just being able to go out and shoot basketballs by yourself sometimes, man. It's just weird as it is to say it, it is almost therapeutic in a way. Cole, my last question for you, sir. Leave this on a positive note. What is one player, a teammate of yours, that you think that deserves more credit?
Oh yeah, that's I feel like there's a lot of guys on our team like that. I think Curtis Samuels is just he's a special person when you watch him on film or see him in person. Even the way he can move, it's really something to see. I feel like a lot of guys on defense are really solid players. I think Benjamin Juice is it's tough to find tall, long corners that can really move and cover like Juice can, and I think he's a very underrated player, and he's a very well-rounded corner along with Kendall. He's so consistent that I love being around him just because how consistent he is of a player. You know exactly what you're getting out of him. He's just very reliable, and that's something that's hard to come by.
absolutely right, Cole. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy day to come join us, brother. I know that
Definitely.
you're getting your off season rolling. I just want you to know that you have three fans here who really are cheering for you and hope that you do well and are given the opportunity to do so. Because I've seen what you're able to do, man. I know the sky's the limit. Continue watching Jordan Reed because the fan base is going to absolutely love to hear that. Cole, I can't thank you enough, brother. I hope you have a great evening and enjoy your off season, brother. And let's win some football games, man.
No, yeah, let's do it. Let's get this 2024 thing rolling, and I appreciate you guys, and it was fun.
My man. Enjoy your
Appreciate you coming
vacation
on,
as
man.
well, Cole. Travel safe, brother.
Thanks. You guys be well.
You
All right,
too.
man. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Cole Turner. I will tell you this right now. Was not expecting those responses.
Yeah, no, he was cool. I thought he was going to be a little bit more like kind of shorter answers and more reserved, like because obviously he's not a guy that gets a lot of shine and a lot of like media quotes put out there when he's in the locker room. So that was definitely that was cool, man. He was a nice, chill dude.
He was. And look what the cat dragged in. Probably the worst timing of any human being ever. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
Not too good, Kyle. Let me tell you why.
All right, everybody.
I can't even use headphones because I had to use my laptop, or I couldn't. I was going to be using the desktop at work, and well, let's just say I couldn't remember my Zoom password, and stuff was getting annoying, and I just got frustrated. So I go, I have my phone. Cool. Log into my phone, and then I was like, oh shit, I don't have the headphone connection piece for iPhone. Tight. So here we are.
So we've started out well. And a good thing is the same thing as that with the Washington Commanders. And I love to hear that because obviously Josh Harris and company are going to work. At the moment, the last two candidates for the head of the football operations is between Ian Cunningham, a guy that I've really, really liked ever since this whole process has started. Obviously, his background with the Ravens, has a background with Philly, but then also Adam Peters is the other last candidate between the two, Ian Cunningham and Peters. And everywhere Peters has gone, he's won. And so, honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't matter where they go with in this regard. We're in a good position. Whoever they hire, we're a better team the next day as soon as they make that hire. So let's get into these fan questions, boys, to wrap up this episode before we are joined by our next guest. This one is from Tony Franchise. Reed, I'm seeing a lot of Commander fans saying they don't want Jim Harbaugh as coach. Can you help me understand why some are so hard on him?
Harbaugh is what is known as kind of a tool bag. Harbaugh, like he's done well, right? But I mean, things didn't end well in San Francisco. I mean, it wasn't like his coaching; it's just the way that I don't know. It was weird because like they were good. It's just like the team kind of didn't have the best reputation. It was, and a lot of his teams allegedly have been like that. I mean, Stanford obviously. You can't say that about Stanford because that's a bunch of good old boys up there, a bunch of smart boys up there being, presents. But yeah, I don't know. I like Harbaugh. I like him a lot. He's cool. He brings a cool type of swagger. So of course I'd be all right with Harbaugh up here. But he doesn't have the best rep, I don't think, amongst fans because of his San Francisco tenure.
Some fans are so hard on him, Tony. The reason why they're saying no is because it doesn't move the needle, like because you've already seen what Harbaugh presents, right? And Harbaugh, what he's going to bring your football team is confidence. If you guys can remember what he would do to Kaepernick and Alex Smith before they went on the field, banging on their shoulder pads, getting them all hyped up. You have to imagine that is what Harbaugh is going to bring to the entire team. Now, is that really going to push this team over the top? And I feel like that is why team fans are reluctant to be on the Harbaugh train because are they under the belief that Harbaugh is going to be able to bring in people here to make them compete inside the NFC East? And I can understand why they'd be kind of second guessing that just because when you don't get that feeling of, oh, we're now on a turbocharger, right? It's almost like a glorified Ron Rivera type hiring, and I would imagine that's their kind of feeling with it. It's why, it's the offensive minded kind of geared towards what a lot of the fans are wanting.
I think it comes down to teams see other teams hiring younger guys like LaFleur and McDaniel and McVay and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, they did it. They're going with young guys, so we got to go young too. And that's what the NFL is trending nowadays, which it is. And I don't have a preference either way. Like, I mean, me personally, I mean, I'm like a Michigan fan, so like I'm kind of a little slightly biased. But to be honest with you, like, it's probably going to surprise you. As much as he is a winner, you talk about winner everywhere he goes, talking about what's his name, Adam Peters. Jim Harbaugh is definitely another guy that wins everywhere he goes. He won at San Diego State. He won at Stanford. He won it obviously in San Francisco whenever they were us back then. You know what I'm saying? Like he turned them around, got them to all those championships. Went to Michigan, won there. So he's definitely a winner. I think that he would bring a winning culture, a winning mindset, and a winning just overall just winning to this organization. But I think the fans are kind of weary of it because he's a guy that wants full control over everything more than likely, and he's a guy that can kind of wear on you and like as like a I guess as a player maybe or maybe as like the front office people, coaching staff, other people on his coaching staff kind of get annoyed by like the people call it shtick, but I think it's just his personality. But they get annoyed by Jim Harbaugh overall after a couple of years, and he just kind of becomes like that prickly, quirky guy that no one really wants to be around. And we're trying to change the culture around here where people actually want to come here and like want to come to work and be happy and whatnot. So as much as I wouldn't mind it because as we've seen over the years, he can develop quarterbacks. He's a proven winner, and he brings a winning culture wherever he goes. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I just think that the way that analytics are involved and everything like that, Jim Harbaugh's not really all about that. And I think that he's going to probably want more control than what Josh Harris probably wants. So I think that it's not a good fit.
Yeah, our boy Puckett DM'd me earlier, and his conspiracy theory is that Harbaugh's going to go to Vegas, and the reason he correlates it to is because Tom Brady went to Michigan, obviously, is one of the minority owners of the team, and he's kind of connecting the dots there, which would make sense. I've also heard the theory of Jim Harbaugh wanting to come here because his brother being in Baltimore, their parents still go to their games, and so it'd be easier on them, and obviously they're probably like in their 90s, and so it's probably be easier for everybody, but I know that that's probably a long shot, but I think Puckett is probably right on par with that. That seems like a Davis move,
Well, he's also outside of Michigan. He's a straight West Coast guy. He's only coached on the West Coast
That's a good
other
point.
than Michigan. So I think he'd want to go to LA or like Las Vegas, somewhere where it's warm and he can, like I said, have control over things.
What is it? Speaking of Baltimore, that reminds me. Did you guys watch Dave Chappelle's new stand up?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
watch the whole
he
thing.
was
I only saw the clips, and we don't need to
no,
talk about that.
he was like Baltimore's so bad. He was like people from DC know Baltimore's so bad that Tupac and his family moved to Oakland for a better life.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so messed up. But Hall, this next question is from the Colonel. His question is, please tell me we're not going to hire one of those fired retread coaches. Only one I'm remotely interested in is Jim Harbaugh, though he is rumored to be most likely headed to San Diego. Pete Carroll also, though he is 72 years old. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously John Keim shot down he's been shooting down the whole Bill Belichick thing, even though Florio's weird ass keeps pushing it.
Yeah,
But
48 told us last week that wasn't going to happen, that it was
yeah,
going to be more so of the GM-focused approach, less than the head coach.
exactly. So yeah, it's not gonna be a retread more than likely. Like, I mean, unless Jim Harbaugh like personally hits up Josh Harris and says, hey, I don't need control. Like Adam Peters and the front office didn't do their thing. I just want to coach. I can see Harbaugh coming here, but again, that doesn't seem like that's something Harbaugh would want to do if you jump back to the NFL. So I think you could X off Harbaugh, you can X off Bill Belichick, obviously, because the local people keep shooting that down. Pete Carroll, I think he's moving up into like a front office role with Seattle, even though he still wants to coach. But
So
they're trying to
weird
move
that
him.
Jay Gruden isn't included in this list.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Jay's offensive coordinator. Like our offenses were balling back when he was here. But anyway, yeah, I think that if you look at all like those weird offshore betting sites, they all have not Eric Benjamin. They have Ben Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
the Lions offensive coordinator, as the favorite to get the job. I know that a lot of the beat people, whenever they were I don't know, especially John Keim, was like, if I'm predicting anything, it'll be Adam Peters, GM or head of football operations, whatever the title may be, and Ben Johnson as the head coach. So I'm going to stick to what guys like John Keim and Sam Fortier and people like that, Nicky Javala, say, because they're the ones that really plugged in, like not the Florios and all those people on the outside. So you don't got to worry about any old guys, long story short.
Yes, and right now the Commanders are having remote interviews online with Anthony Weaver, the defensive line coach from the Baltimore Ravens, for their head coaching job. They're through via Zoom. The reason for that is because you can't interview in person during the playoffs still, so that's most likely why that is happening. But it's good to hear that. I can't tell you if they're going to go with the retread or not, because obviously whoever they do decide to be their head of football ops is their decision. But I will say this, they're probably not going to want to give up too much power. And it would make sense if it would be somebody like Slowick, it would be somebody like Ben Johnson, because it's much more so prove it to me sort of thing in order to have an opinion on the matter. And I think that's probably an important power dynamic here in the shifting of everything, because, in years past it was, oh, it was that guy's fault. It was that guy's fault. No, we now have the point. We know where to point the finger, and that's all that matters at this point. I think Ben Johnson is. I think everyone is right in the saying that I'm going to go with what Vegas thinks, and Vegas is putting Ben Johnson number one. I'm probably going to side with that, and I think that we at this point should realize that Harris and company are not playing around, and they are going to bring the best. And I'm all about it, dude. Let's build up Voltron. Let's build the best freaking staff in the league. That's what we thought last year.
I was way
sure.
off.
Yeah, we were. I blame you because I agreed with you. I was like, Reed, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, some of the retread guys are like they don't get you that excited, but like if you think about it, like there's a reason that they're getting these second guys like Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris. Like they a lot of people around the league do feel like if they get a chance with in a good situation, they will be good coaches. So it doesn't really get you as excited as like a Ben Johnson or Mike McDonald. I like Mike McDonald as well, but it's definitely like if that's who they decide to go with, I'm not going to be mad about it. I'll trust whoever it is, whether it's Cunningham or Peters, whoever they decide, because they got something in place. But yeah, obviously I would like one of these new hot young little twink coordinator people. You know what I'm saying?
I will say also, I think another reason, I don't know, I don't think it's another reason, but another, I guess, point of hiring like a new guy, like a young guy, is because if you got a guy like Dan Quinn or whoever it may, like the retread, Bill Belichick, Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, whoever it may be, they're going to come in and be like, hey, like I've already done this before. Like I know what I'm doing. I know the type of players that I want, as opposed to like a guy like Ben Johnson or Slowick or Mike McDonald, who the GM's already picking the players, and obviously the coach would probably have some say in it, but like the GM, the front office people are like, hey, these are guys we're giving it to you. Make whatever you can out of them. And you're seeing what guys like that are doing with the talent that the front office people are bringing in. So they're not going to come in right away and be like, hey, like I want to draft this guy, and this guy because like blah, 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 as opposed to like a retreader or older guy where it's like, hey, I've done this before. Like I've been successful. I know the type of guys that I want and blah, 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 and try to, maybe butt heads with the GM or the front office people. So, yeah I think that it's definitely going to be like a younger, like first time probably head coach.
It would be interesting too. I was looking into Ben Johnson a little bit just because I'd never heard anything about like what tree he comes from or anything. He literally comes from like the Dan Campbell tree. Like he was in Miami from 2012 to 2018. 2019 he went to the Lions, and since then, so like he doesn't really have many coaches. Like usually people bring their guys, people that they know. Like so one name that'll be, and this is obviously we haven't even hired a GM yet, but like Mark Brunell's been his quarterback's coach down there.
It's funny. I was literally thinking that. I'm like, Mark Brunell played here.
Yeah.
Something like, what I'm saying? Like he would be he'd be a good quarterback coach to bring in. I think Ben Johnson's working with him for a little bit.
If whoever hears this, if there are Penix fans out there, they're gonna go ape crap with that thought of having Mark Brunell as a quarterback coach here and having Penix. Reed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, or Brett Favre if we had Brett Favre and Penix, because remember Brett Favre sent that picture of his Penix to to that one chick, which for an old white dude, I was like, pretty good, Brett, pretty good. Good for you.
For an old
of course,
white
you
guy.
saw the picture.
Of course I did. You guys didn't. You guys don't look at celebrity dick pics when they leak.
Of course not.
I do. Everybody. I just want to know. I'm just like, what is it? What is it? Every celebrity always has a monster. Yeah, everyone. I think that's why they're famous, probably.
Yeah, probably. Now let's go to our next question before we are joined by our next guest. This one is
what Illuminati gives you once you join.
This one's from Tim Towner.
That's the first thing I would ask for too. You get 3 wishes. It's like money, fame. Come on, you know what else?
On that note, let's switch this up a little bit. Now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Nick Akridge. After a long needed time away, being able to get his thoughts together, you chose probably a pretty good season to walk away and not watch any games, Nick. So I'm glad to be able to have you back on here, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. I did have a good time off, just not being on Twitter. Not the best circumstances to have to be off of Twitter, but it was nice to not be involved with all that. But
I will say
we're back
you
and we're ready
Return,
to go.
you get right back into it with
Dude,
people.
seriously,
You
I was
come
gonna
back
say-
and it's Sam Howell.
Coming in hot.
Dive
We're
right
taking
into
a
the deep
quarterback.
end.
Suck off.
Exactly. He came in
I
like
missed
stone
out on a
cold.
lot, so I had to dive right back in head first.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Yeah.
It's
wait.
the only way to do it.
Came in like stone cold, man, with the glass
Yeah, I heard
breaking.
that glass break as soon as
Yeah.
you reactivated. I was like, oh no, good God, that's Nick Akridge's music. Oh my God.
He's back.
Nick, let's get this going, dude. Talk to me about Sam Howell, and because obviously you weren't going back and forth with fans on Twitter because obviously Washington has a number 2 overall pick. Should Washington go down the route of possibly trading back, keeping Sam Howell as the starter, or what are your thoughts on this? If Washington at 2, what should they be doing?
You mean we don't have the next Peyton Manning? They were like similar rookie years. That's crazy.
You know what? Screw it. I'm all in on Sam Howell. Build around him. No, I'm just joking. Absolutely not. There's an easy choice and there's the wrong choice. I don't think there should be much of a debate here. Sam Howell was thrown into a terrible spot. And before I break down all the crap that went on with him, I will preface this by saying I was a big Sam Howell fan. He was my QB2. We won't talk about my QB1 in that draft, Desmond Ridder, but he was my QB2 in that draft. I love the pick in the 5th round. I was really hoping for him to succeed here, and it started off pretty well. There were some underlying factors that kind of, had a lot of people hesitant to really kind of crown him, and that kind of showed towards the end. But I was a huge Sam Howell fan. This is nothing against the kid himself. He seems like a great guy, but you put yourself in an opportunity at pick 2 to take your next franchise quarterback. And I remember at the beginning of this year, everyone was saying that, it's a nice year, kind of this lame duck year where, if Sam Howell's the guy, he's going to prove it and he's going to go out and ball out. And if he's not, you're going to be picking in the top 5. Well, we're picking in the top 5. He did not do enough to prove that he, deserves another shot at this. He's going on his 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. You're running low on that rookie quarterback contract, and I just don't think this is any sort of question right now. The only question we should be having is whether or not you want to go up to 1 to go get your guy. That's the only question I think that we're going to have to really debate going into the future. But I think sitting at 2, you've put yourself in a very, very great spot, and I think it's over for Howell as the starter. There's no reason to release him. I think he's shown enough to be a reliable backup or spot starter in this league down the road. But as of right now, there should be no question on what pick number 2 or possibly number 1 is going to be, and it's going to be a quarterback.
Caleb, you're number 1 right now?
I haven't watched either of them yet. I'm late this year, but I can't wait. This is probably like the first year where I've really dove into quarterbacks, and Washington has a chance at one of the top ones. You usually always had to watch like the quarterback 4 or 5 to see if maybe Washington takes him, but I will be diving into all of them soon. But right now it kind of seems like Williams and May are the 1-2 with Jaden Daniels kind of sneaking in there. But
yep.
Usually the consensus is pretty spot on. So I think we're going to kind of get one of those guys really.
To give a fair assessment on Williams, I would suggest to watch the Notre Dame game from this past year first.
I will watch. This is the beauty of my job is I have access to every single play he's ever played.
Nick, you just want to make me angry.
Wait, you don't even have to pay for the all 22?
Nope. We got it all, baby. PFF
Are you
Ultimate.
bootlegging stuff?
PFF Ultimate is the greatest thing ever invented for football nerds. If you talk to anybody in the NFL or college that has a subscription to Ultimate, it is probably the greatest thing ever invented for football. You can pull up any play you want with any requirements you want, and it's there. Videos pulled up, all 22.
I just need that. I need that username and password, bro.
See, if I give that away, I might not have a username and password.
Use promo
doing
code
that.
Kyle's really a woman for free access.
Yeah, try that and see how that goes.
Hall, you want to go?
Yeah, use it.
So Cam Curl, obviously he's coming up on a deal, and who knows if they're going to slap the franchise tag on him? Who knows if they're going to let him test free agency? Where do you stand on Cam Curl? Because I know a lot of the fan base likes Cam Curl, wants him to stay for the right price, but there's also some weird people on Twitter that are like, oh, he sucks. He's not worth the money. He doesn't get turnovers, blah, 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 blah. Where's your stance on Cam Curl?
Yeah, I've always been a Cam Curl fan.
It's 'cause you're smart.
I think it's awesome what he's come from, 7th round pick to be
Might be Ron's best pick.
Probably is. and to be probably the most reliable player on that defense. Jeremy Reeves did all the talking for me. I don't really need to do that. He went on Twitter.
So good, dude.
Pay
So
him.
good.
He plays every single position, and he's 100% right. Like Cam, it was a down year in terms of like PFF grade and some of his stats and all that sort of stuff. But man, he was playing every single position, and the rest of the secondary was not great. The rest of the defense was not great, and it's tough for him to look too good with that. And of course, there were some mistakes and whatnot, and that's going to happen when you go through, two defensive play callers, and it was just a rough year for that entire defense. But I think Cam's proved enough since he started here that he deserves to get paid, and if he's not going to get paid here, he will make a lot of money elsewhere, and we will, I think, regret if you let him go, because he can step into any scheme and play any position, and he's shown that his whole time here. So I'm a big Cam Curl fan. I think he needs to be re-signed. I think that should be a priority.
Yeah. Do you have a preference for either of these GM candidates or a head coaching candidate?
No, I was talking to people. People kept asking me on Twitter like who I prefer GM wise. I don't have a preference. I'm not going to pretend like I know.
Especially between these two, they're both.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about the two of them, other than what we all know is what we've kind of read on their background and their resume and stuff. And it seems like they're some of the top candidates. So I don't think you can go wrong either way. And it's so refreshing to kind of have this sort of thing where these guys want to come interview here. It's
amazing.
One of the weirdest feelings ever, because you're usually looking at the bottom of the pack and you're kind of trying to hopefully this guy wants to come here, but they're fighting to get to Washington, it seems. So I think either way we're in a great spot, and same with coaches. Once the Belichick rumor was kind of put to bed, I was pretty much happy with anyone.
Yeah, if you really want to see cognitive dissonance in real time, all you got to do is go on Twitter and say that Ron Rivera is the reason why Washington is in the position that they are, and it looks as good as it does, and heads will start to explode. Nick, next question I have for you: Quan Martin finished the year very well. He was the second-round pick from last year. I love the kid's measurables. Really showed out. Really started to get acclimated at the end of the year. How did he look?
Yeah, every time he came in, he played well. There were so many weeks where he was the highest rated defender, but he played like 5 snaps. So it didn't really, I didn't tweet that out because, 5 snaps is such a tiny sample size, but every time he came in, he made plays. And even when he was playing a lot more down the stretch end of the year or whatever, he was still really, really good. It was very encouraging to see in a down year for that entire defense that he was still kind of, making plays. Of course, the interception was lucky, he got a tip and whatnot, but he was making other plays, and that's another building block. You might have whiffed on the first round pick, jury's still out. I don't ever say anyone's a bust after 1 year, but it's not looking great there. But second round pick, it looks like you have a decent piece here, so we'll see.
Are you? A lot of people are giving up on Emmanuel Forbes. I tweeted yesterday, leave the kid alone. I'm sure it's hard to be the first round pick and be able to have the year that he's having. Are you over the kid, or do you think that another staff can possibly be able to use him correctly?
I think they can. Again, I don't think I think he was overdrafted to begin with. I was never, a huge fan of him in the first round. I think the expectations that come with that were never fair. But again, that you were picked in the first round, it's kind of from there on, you're a first rounder and you got to perform like a first rounder. And it's going to be tough to kind of, come back from that. Cornerback is such a confidence position. And if you don't have it, you're not playing well. For him to kind of respond to that tweet saying they're going to have to take it off or they're not taking it from me, is kind of good news. You need that kind of
That's
swagger.
literally what I said. I was like, well, at least he's stepping up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted him to get some dog in him. He got some dog in him.
Yeah, you need that mentality at cornerback. So, we'll see. I just think he's really undersized, and their plan for him this year was just so weird. It didn't make any sense, and I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't, kind of ruin his confidence, and we can kind of see a Sam Cosmi sort of bounce back where, if once Cosmi finally stayed in a position that suited him, he played lights out.
Yeah, such a savage fan base. I need you to take that hat off. Put your GM hat back on again.
I don't have any back there.
Jamin Davis coming up on his, I believe they need to pick up his 5th-year option soon. Are you picking that up because you have faith that he can keep growing and a new staff will be able to, I guess, kind of not use him correctly, but he'll keep growing in whatever role they use him in, or you just moving on and you're starting fresh with a whole new linebacking core?
Yeah, Davis is another tough one. Again, it's a guy that they reached on and didn't live up to the first round hype, but he's kind of formed a pretty decent spot on this defense. And he had his best year, and he just kind of showed constant improvement. And he's shown that same sort of improvement ever since they drafted him. Again, if you just think of him as a first round linebacker, you're going to get disappointed with what he's done so far, but he's proven to be a pretty decent linebacker right now. If it was me, I don't know. I think I'd hold off on the 5th round option. Linebackers are so tough. I mean, it's such a difficult position now to play. And if you don't have a solid line, I mean, screw it. I'd say pick up that 5th option. We just saw what happened when you let Cole Holcomb go, and I don't know. It's such a tough position to evaluate now, and you finally have someone who's performing pretty well. I think stick with it.
Yeah, and I definitely think the head coach, which side of the football they decide on, is probably going to be very key there. But Nick, to wrap this up, I only have a couple more questions for you. In regards to Jamin Davis and this defense, if they were to go down a different route of head coach, maybe defensive-minded, do you think that Washington has the assets in place in order to switch defenses to a 4-3?
I don't. I mean, you can argue they do, just because of, in today's NFL, there's no team that really has uses the same structure over and over and over again. So
right.
In today's NFL, everybody's playing so many different positions that I think they can do it. I wouldn't really suggest it. You've got a lot of good players in the position that they're in, and kind of switching that up would make things rough. I mean, if you kind of switch that up along the D line, you're asking Payne and Allen to do different things again, and it'll be tough. But I think they have the players to possibly do it. I mean, Jamin Davis, thinking of him as an outside edge rusher is kind of intriguing. But again, then you're just wasting these past 3 years of everything he's learned. So
yeah, it's true.
It's tough. It's a tough spot, man. I mean, there's going to be a lot of change, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what happens. And you got all that cap space. So if you want to change, go buy some players. I mean, there's your answer.
Absolutely. Now, next question for you. The MVP of the Dallas Cowboy game was absolutely Sam Cosmi. He went to war with Michelle Perkins. He did a great job in doing that. Love to see it. Talk about Sam Cosmi's year, because the second round, the second rounders have a negative connotation here in Washington, and this year the second rounders showed up.
Yeah, Sam Cosmi was the best player on offense, and I think you can make an argument he was the best player on the entire team. Especially, it's an easy argument to make in the back half of the season. He was the best player on the entire team. Right guard is such a position that no one really notices unless you're playing terribly, like the left guard position has. That's when people start to notice it. He was so good, and if you're watching the games, you're rewatching the run plays, he is trying to kill people every single time he snaps the ball. And when he is moving forward in the run game, again, he wants to kill you and put you through the ground. And it's so much fun to watch him. He's the one asset on that offensive line you can really, really build around. And he's another reason why I was kind of saying that, people keep saying this whole offensive line needs to be rebuilt. But he's one of the best right guards in the league based on how he played the second half of the season. And yeah, he's a nice success story for the former vaunted second-round picks.
Yeah, and you absolutely love to see somebody going with one of the best in the league that has a lot of glamour about them, going head-to-head and not being afraid of it and saying, I don't mind punching you in the face. Let's bring it. Now, last question I have for you, sir. I know you kind of already talked about the head coaches that could possibly be brought in here and everything like that. But let's just say Washington doesn't go quarterback. Just hypothetically speaking, obviously the GM is going to decide all this. We know this. But just Nick Akridge.
Twitter would literally break.
If Washington doesn't go with quarterback, what should they be eyeing in that early top 5 pick?
If they don't go quarterback, they better trade down for the greatest haul you've ever seen. That's the only way I would be
gonna burn Ashburn to the ground.
The only way I would be somewhat happy if they don't go quarterback, that you get the greatest haul, the RG3 type trade, plus some to move back from 2. That's the only way I would be somewhat happy.
Okay.
But then again, you got to hit on all those picks.
The second most important position that they have to divulge assets into, besides quarterback.
Okay, that's a better question. I would say tackle. I would say tackle. I mean, I don't think the tackles were as bad as a lot of people think, but they're getting up there in age. Wiley was fine. I know people think that Wiley was the worst right tackle to ever exist, but he was an adequate right tackle. That's what he's been his entire career. Average to slightly above average is what he's been. Charles Leno has always been a reliable left tackle. Again, people want to kill them for it, but a lot of what you saw when pressure came from their sides was Sam Howell. There were some obviously rough reps. That's what all tackles are going to have in the NFL. But I think you just need to get younger in that position. And there's a couple of top guys there at the very top that you can easily kind of plug in, and they'd be franchise left tackles like a Trent Williams that will lead you to multiple Super Bowls, right? That's what Trent did.
That is what Trent did. Dude, I brought that argument up to somebody in one of the spaces one time, and I felt so bad about it because I had to talk crap about us. But I was like, look, dude, we have one of the best left tackles in the league. What did that do for us?
We won 5 Super Bowls with probably one of the best left tackles to ever play the game.
Yeah. Nick, I can't think enough.
Somebody brought up the Browns. I said, yeah, Joe Thomas won them a bunch of Super Bowls. We forgot about that.
Yeah, shut up, Reed. Now, Nick, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. I know that it's been a year for you. You know, we love you over here, man. I know we always got your back, and I'm glad that you're back and you're up here in Chum, and you didn't have to experience what we did the past couple weeks, man. I hope you have a great, fantastic evening. You know we love you, brother, and I always appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. You know, the words you guys sent me was very nice, and everyone on Twitter. I mean, I don't know who's watching this that was also following me, but I read everything. I read all the words you guys sent and all the love and whatnot. So I really, really do appreciate it. Like you said, 2023 was terrible, worst year of my life, but we move on and we keep going.
And so, make 24 the best. Make 24
Absolutely.
the best, Nick.
See you guys.
Have a good night, brother. Have a good weekend,
appreciate
man.
it.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Nick Akridge.
I thought Reed left too. I was like, damn.
No, always appreciate Nick.
In a second.
Yeah. Now let's finish this up with our fan questions, and Reed, because I did not allow you to ask the last question to Nick. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go to you first. This one from Tim Towner. Are you high on the possibility of hiring Peters? And if so, would that change if it comes out that he was a big proponent of the trade for Trey Lance?
I thought that was a question. Are you high?
So did I.
No, trust me. I was gonna make a joke about Hall, but of course you guys ruined it.
So what was? Am I high on Peters and what?
If you heard that it came out that he was high on Trey Lance and acquiring Trey Lance for the 49ers, would that ruin any of that for you?
No, I'm very high on Peters. If you look at the list of players, if you look at the list of players undrafted to late round picks that he's credited with finding, seriously, look that up. It's impressive. It's like Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Chris Harris, Malik Jackson. Like he's credited with like that's like his bread and butter. So and people strike out sometimes. I loved Trey Lance when he was coming out. You understand why you could have fallen in love with him. The 0 interceptions before the COVID season, just his build, his playing style, his big arm, his athleticism. I get it, but so it wouldn't really change things for me. And yes, I'm very high on Peters. I'm high on both these guys, Cunningham and Peters. They're the two who I wanted. I think most people wanted, and I just, that wouldn't change a thing for me, Tim Towner. It wouldn't change a goddamn thing for me, and it wouldn't change nothing.
Okay.
We're gonna go find them pirates, isn't it? We're gonna go find them.
I'm very confident in Peters, but I'm not high on Peters like Reed. In that sense, but I am very confident in Adam Peters and what he can.
You smoke so many Peters, you're definitely high on Peters.
But like with Peters, everywhere that he's been, dude, he's balled out. I mean, going back to New England, he won a Super Bowl with Denver, obviously with New England as well. And then what he's done, obviously being involved with San Francisco, it's the same sort of mindset that EB had coming from Kansas City. You're around winners and how it's developed. Obviously, you have learned something and you have a pedigree here. The fact that he's turned down other job opportunities year after year and then took ours and is actually one of the last candidates here, it tells you a lot about this job opportunity. A lot of people gave me crap for saying that elite executives were tripping over themselves to come here, but it's true, dude. These are the cream of the crop that we're interviewing right now. The other teams are getting our leftovers, but essentially, no disrespect, I'm just saying. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't change with Trey Lance. Whatever we decide, we're going with, and honestly, like we talked about last week, Tim, you miss all the shots you don't take, right? And sometimes you're going to miss. And obviously nobody's perfect, but hopefully you can learn from it, and that's the biggest thing you can do, right? Anything, Hall?
Yeah, pretty much just echo what you guys said. Like, you're not going to hit on every single pick, no matter how good of a GM you are and how good of a scout you are. You're always going to miss on a player. It just so happens that they traded away so much for a top 3 quarterback or top 3 drafted quarterback, and he was probably the worst quarterback in that draft, it looks like so far. So it is like stuff like that happens. And for every guy that he's probably missed on missed on in like an early round, I'm sure he's probably made it up on like a guy like a Mr. Irrelevant or like you said, what's the line? Fred Warner or any guys like that on the back end where like those third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round guys that become cornerstone like players for your franchise, second contract players for your franchise. So yeah, no GM is perfect. You're gonna miss sometimes. It just so happens that it was such a big swing and a miss that it was like an all-time big swing and a miss. But like you said, people swing and a miss all the time.
All right, let's go rapid fire. Hall. This question is from Chris Comerton. What are the
I gotta
odds?
take off. I gotta take off. Daddy's gotta take off.
All right, go do your thing. Go do work.
Hello.
Work. Hall, this question, Chris Comerton. What are the odds we land both of these cats, Peters and Cunningham? Then we've got Peters, Cunningham, Spielman, and Myers. Hashtag dream team.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would definitely be the dream scenario. But just reading some like the people around the leagues like tweets, and I was listening to Grant and Danny earlier, and pretty much the sense is if you're interviewing for a head of football operations here, you're probably good enough to be at least at minimum, you're at least good enough to be a GM somewhere else, if not a head of football operations somewhere else for another franchise. So I'm sure that the dream scenario, like I said, would be Peters as the head of football operations, and then they bring in Cunningham as the GM. But I think that, if he doesn't make this round of GM hires or whatever, then next year, 100,000%, he'll be the number one guy, just like Adam Peters is the number one guy this year. He'll be the number one guy next year. So I think that, if he doesn't get a go around this time, maybe out in Las Vegas, maybe out in LA with the Chargers, then I think that next year, whatever GM openings are out there next year, he'll be the number one guy, the number one, like the hot pick, the hot name on the market next year.
I'd say it's probably less than 10%, Chris. I would love for that reality to happen, but it's based on the structure of things, right? Because Ian Cunningham at the Bears, he's the assistant GM. Whereas where Peters, coming from San Francisco, is obviously below Lynch as who is the SFO. So basically, the SFO is a promotion for Adam Peters and one up. Putting SFO for Ian Cunningham is like 2 jumps up. So the only way that you could essentially do it is by hiring Peters as SFO, then having Cunningham as your GM, but then that brings up the Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney situation, right? And how you're going to be able to go about that situation. And so it honestly, it comes down to the ownership on how much you're willing to pay for front office. But obviously that would be like the Voltron aspect of it, where you are actually putting together a qualified group, and these guys would be able to get paid very well here and also make a dang name for themselves, where if they do well at GM with a great SFO above them, maybe they could get their name up there to be just like Adam Peters somewhere else. But ultimately, if Ian Cunningham, it would make me a little bit. I've always liked Ian Cunningham, obviously, as a guy I picked out. But if he didn't win it, it's all good. I know that we're in a good spot. I just think that he'd probably want to stay at Chicago and maybe take over and finish whatever the heck he started there. He's only been there a year. Now, the next question that we have from the Discord chat. Thank you, Chris. That was a good one. This one is submitted by our boy, Big Tony Shivers. Wink storming off and going AWOL with the Giants. Tepper being lunatic. The Saints' last play and weird pressers after. And the Titans' odd handling of Vrabel. Isn't it nice for once that we are not in the news for weird negative stuff?
Yeah, this is like a parallel universe we're living in where we're getting like positive, good headlines put out there about us and positive reviews from the outside world about us. And all the other teams and a couple other teams are going crazy, having negative things about them. And I just think since like 2020, for the past 3.5 years, it's just been nothing but negative, that it's kind of seemed like it has been 20 plus years of like negative stuff, but it just seems like it's just been like a daily thing for the past like 3.5 years. So it's definitely refreshing to open up like your computer at work or get on Twitter and you just see nothing but positive things and positive reviews and positive outlooks about the Commanders. And you got guys like David Tepper throwing drinks in people's faces and Saints locker rooms revolting against the media. So, it's good to be a Commander going into 2024.
Yeah, because you have to know we're in a good situation here in Washington. Great point, Tony. Because right now the biggest argument that everyone is having is what quarterback to take. You know, they're not at odds over all this nonsense. That's the real big ticket item, and we're not here fighting over each other over this crazy off the field stuff. To your point, Tony, I made that comment earlier in the year talking about, just enjoy the training camp aspect because for the first time there's no off the field nonsense going on. As much as we want to complain about what's going on in training camp and everything, just embrace it for the first time. We actually have peace. It's crazy. To your point, Tony. Now the next question from Yam Sensei in the Discord. Hall, your top 3 GM candidates and top 3 head coaching candidates. GM is easy for me. It's Adam Peters, Ian Cunningham, and then I guess below that, I'd say
I like
Peyton
Allen.
Manning.
It's weird that they haven't asked to request Joe Horowitz over in Baltimore because
Yeah.
all the reports where they want to kind of structure it and maybe kind of model
Well,
the
ML
Ravens.
Football put that out there.
I know, but there was other people too that put it out there. But I mean, I'd put Alec Hallaby in there just because like the Philly ties from the 76ers and the Eagles. He's an analytics guy. He's been under Howie Roseman, who some people look at and probably I think is one of the best GMs, if not the best GM in the NFL right now. So that would be my number 3, but it seems like they're already down to 2 people. So, and really it's down to like one person, which is Peters, but maybe Cunningham has like a surprise like reveal sometime this weekend. But top 3 head coaches, quickly, I'll say obviously Ben Johnson is number 1 on my list. Number 2, I would go Mike McDonald because I think that he's a young, up-and-coming, smart guy. And if you just look at that Michigan defense, look at that Ravens defense, dude is definitely the real deal. And number 3, I would go I like Bobby Slowick just because of what he's done with CJ Stroud, but I just saw something earlier today that it maybe kind of seemed like CJ Stroud was the one kind of carrying Slowick, but I like what Slowick's done so far, and I like that he's coached on both sides of the ball. So
the Slowick's thing is that he did a lot of run pass this year. And look, we can make it's the chicken or the egg argument. I feel like some of these are so stupid in that regard. The question I love about this. All right, so you already know my GMs. I've already told you. Joe Hortiz is one guy I really like from Baltimore, obviously from the Ozzie Newsome tree. You already know Ian Cunningham is my number 1. Peter's my number 2, if I'm being brutally honest with you. As much as anybody wants to call me crazy, just I'm being honest in the fact that I circled Ian Cunningham first. That's just what my idea was. The top 3 head coaches, I'll say Ben Johnson, as much as I talk crap about it. Number 2, I will go Bobby Slowick. And then number 3, I'll say Kirby Smart. That's who would be a really good head coaching candidate here.
That man ain't leaving Georgia.
Now, the next question or Discord, this is from our boy Arch, who asked us, I've been pondering something. Mayhew's relationship with Peters. If Peters gets the president of football ops position, does Mayhew stick around in some capacity, even if it's in a lesser role for a transition year? I know Mayhew is tainted, but with the 3-headed process from the previous regime, are fans projecting an image that isn't the same image behind closed doors? Draft is around the corner. Previous relationship could make it interesting.
Yeah, I think some of the reports were that it's because they know each other. Maybe Mayhew stays on like in some type of like front office role. Maybe it's not GM, maybe it's something else. Just because him and Peters know each other. I think that they were saying. I think it was either Grant or somebody was saying JP. So I don't know, but he has a lot of connections to other front offices around the league. A lot of connections to a lot of agents. A lot of people around the league and a lot of agents look at him highly as far as like a front office type guy. So it would be good just as far as like the connections part of the league and that aspect of it. But I think that once Peters comes in, maybe he gets in, he's the head of football operations / like GM title, and then he hires an assistant under him. And maybe could possibly be Mayhew, but I wouldn't see Mayhew taking a demotion from general manager to assistant general manager. I think that it would just be like he'd rather just maybe go work in another front office, go do something else. So I'd put it at probably 85% that once Peters is hired and brings in the people that he wants in the front office, that Mayhew will probably be a let go.
I definitely do think that Mayhew will be around, especially until after the draft time. Hall, try to think about it this way. Let's say we like Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae, that building was one of my first biggest job in company history for us when we got it. It was massive. 13 floors, 2 twin towers there with a connector in between.
Well, yeah, like
And
14 floors.
right. Now, let's say halfway through that project, they pull me off of it and they have John or Ben come in to lead it, right? John and Ben have no idea the issues or small little minute details that are missing on level 3, on level 5 over here on the southwest side that could be catastrophic errors going down the line. So you need somebody to be able to communicate those issues for that transition of power. And that's what I think Arch is saying here about Martin Mayhew with that relationship with Peters, because reality speaking, that is how business works. There's a lot of these small minute details, the devil's in the details, and you need to be able to have good communication so everyone is on the same page, so those problems don't turn into catastrophic ones, that you still have control over them. And that's why you would keep Mayhew here until the draft time, because of how close it is. It's a smart way of doing business, just like not firing Rivera during the season. We want a good, peaceful transition of power like good organizations do, and keeping Mayhew would keep things calm and controlled.
Yeah, that is smart. That could definitely see that. Just like whenever Ron came in and he kept Kyle Smith around
Right.
until like the draft or after the draft, whatever it was. And then it was like, all right, appreciate whatever I needed you for. Peace.
Yeah, thanks for leaking.
Yeah, pretty. I don't know, because he was the one that was apparently he was the one that was on the only one in the draft room that was standing up Dan Snyder. So I don't think he was maybe on the way out he was the leaker, but in the beginning I don't know. Like,
can't trust anything coming out of Ashburn in those days, brother, if we're being honest. All right,
That's
everybody.
true.
Thank you so much for tuning in this episode. Thank you to Cole Turner for taking some time out for us. It's still kind of crazy that we were finally able to get him. I really appreciate him doing that. I appreciate everyone for watching. If you made it this far, you're a champion. I really do appreciate you for tuning in and just watching it. 3 crazy idiots talk football here. Really do appreciate it. Thank you to Nick Akridge for taking some time out for us, as always. Everyone that submitted questions, we love you guys. I appreciate everything you've done for us. We will be back on Sunday for another episode as we head into the offseason. Hopefully we'll have some great news by then to be able to share and talk about and discuss as we go along moving forward. This is going to be one of the most electric off seasons in Washington football history, and one of the most important given the circumstances and the possibilities that are at our feet. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we will see you guys on Sunday. All right, everybody. Don't be high on Peters. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo, or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.